a draw and a loss. So curious to see how much Cowboys got in store. But the story you think of when you look at this fight is who Cowboy was supposed to fight, Diego Sanchez, who, man, he's the weirdest thing that's happened in the UFC, I think, for a long time. Diego Sanchez won the Ultimate Fighter 1, got a UFC contract, was the longest active fighter on the roster. He had two surprising wins very late in his career. The really interesting, entertaining one, the stoppage of Mickey Gall, which might have been the worst thing that could have happened for him because this is a crystal energies aura type guy. And he's talking about how he got Gall in the chakra point. He then meets a snake oil salesman known as Joshua Fabia, who convinces, basically starts a one-man cult with Diego Sanchez as the only member, is constantly whispering in his ear, filling him with these ideas, becomes his only cornerman for some fights, gives him bad corner advice that does nothing for him, tells him he's winning rounds that he's losing, doesn't give him any advice that helps him win the fight, says these ridiculous things like Diego has a choke that will kill someone if he uses it wrong, and then when asked to demonstrate, can't. There's this bizarre leaked footage of him intruding on a UFC fighter meeting where he just tries to ream the commentary team for what they've said about his last fights, which is more or less everything I just said, that minus the snake oil salesman explicitly, they just implied it. And then it really came to a tipping point when Fabia asks the UFC for every record that medical record Diego Sanchez has ever had. The UFC lawyer comes in and says, hey, look, if you have any doubts whatsoever about Sanchez's health, we're going to pull this fight right now. I do have mixed feelings about this because I think every fighter probably has some sketchy health things going on, like maybe a bit of CTE, and the UFC knows that. They just need to hear the fighters and their coaches say, no, everything's good, so that the UFC has covered their ass. But Fabia sounds super snaky in the phone call, which he recorded, and as if it's some kind of gotcha when it's just full lawyer talk by the UFC. And sure enough, a couple days later, the UFC decides they're going to pay Diego his show and win money and just part ways with that headache. So really sad to see the longest UFC career that was ever a thing end like this. It sounds like it's not the first time Sanchez has fallen for this sort of thing, though earlier is before my time. Yeah, I hate this is like the drama episode because this story is kind of more fascinating and morbidly interesting than the fight itself.